It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Magical day to all. Welcome to Divas That Care Network. I am Joyce Benning, and I will be your host for this invigorating, robust lifestyle show. I would like to thank each one of the listeners that are listening to this podcast on the many different platforms. I am so very grateful and thankful for each and every one of you. And you are all in for one magical show today, as I have with me my incredible returning diva, Gia-Raquel. And her and I are going to continue our chat from in July on intuition, on how to tune in, and this is part 2. So with that, Gia, would you please introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Thank you, Joyce. I am thrilled to be back as always, and I'm just so grateful and blessed to be here with you today. So thank you for having me. My name is Gia-Raquel, and I own Airs Above Yoga, which is I'll call it a wellness modality where I focus on bringing yoga, meditation, and energy work to my clients, both human, canine, equine, and four-legged and two-legged alike, is how I will say that.
Yes, and she is phenomenal at what she does, whether it's remote, as how I have experienced her with my horses, and it is phenomenal. So I know she is when you're in person also.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I hope they do as well.
Oh, they do. They do. I told them this morning I was doing a show with Gia, and they were like, tell her hi.
Well, I say hi back to them, and I ask their mom to give them maybe some carrots or treats, whatever they can have that's good for their tummy.
That sounds wonderful. I can do that. So, how would you like to continue our chat today on intuition and how to tune in?
So I think, as we left off last time, it's a drop in the bucket, right? Literally. I mean, it's beyond, I think, comprehension. And I think I jokingly said our tiny little pea-sized human brains, right? But in reality, I mean, if you think about the vastness of the universe and the vastness of divine guidance and all of that, it's a microcosm. We are a grain of sand in this vastness, right? So I think that one of the best ways to think about that is to start to cultivate that relationship with your own silence and your own connection. So it's all about your establishing, you can literally visualize it like a string, like a band of light. You can start to create this visualization, because I think that a lot of times people need something tangible to visualize, to think about, to relate to. So last time we talked about listen, right? Or breathe, these words or these actions that you can take for people that may or may not have the practice in place to get them to that quiet, to that solitude, to that receptivity that we talked about. So I like to try to give people something relatable, something to meet them where they are so that you can get them to that next level up. So from that, I think that one of the best ways we talked about are kind of buzzwords for it, and how we listen and we hear our intuition. But I also want to talk a little bit about the visual. So I think visualization is I'm not going to say an easy tool. It's not, and none of it's easy, right? It's all a practice. But I think that people can, you can see with your mind's eye, and again, it gives you that connection to something bigger than yourself. So when we talked about, just shutting it down and listening, shutting it down and focusing on the breath, but kind of that tuning in, that quieting everything around you so that you're able to focus on what's internal and receiving from a very specific external, not the noise external, but a very specific above us, bigger than us external. I think that being able to have something to focus on to create that connection is really important when you're starting to tune into your intuition. And I think that for some people, they can be very visual. I'm a very visual person. And I think visualizing anything that helps you is a great way to start once you've started the practice of tuning in. So we have our first step, which is kind of getting into that meditative state and creating that practice. And then we have our second step, which is another way to begin to invite in that connection by creating that visualization.
Oh, how true that is. And tuning in and into the silence and to see with your mind's eye. I like that because how true that is. If you just kind of tune into the silence and let your mind, your heart is how I kind of see it too. Let your heart show you what you need to see. And you'll be amazed at what appears before you when you start to tune into your intuition.
100%. And I often, the same grounding meditation that I do at the beginning of all my yoga classes, I always say in it, you know, visualize the energy that surrounds you rooting into the energy from the earth beneath you. It's a very simple visualization, but you're basically picturing your auric field for people that are familiar with that nomenclature. And so, that is a very important part, or something we'll touch on that on another show another time. But basically just a small visualization practice starts to prime you can call it your imagination. You can call it your third eye, where we'll talk about the third eye chakra. You can call it all these things, but just like stilling the mind, visualizing and creating that internal vision is another layer of practice. And I think that choosing something, again, because we talked about the active versus the passive role, the intention setting versus the intuition receiving. A lot of times people are in that active, creative, manifesting, male driven. Our society is very much that way. So if someone who's starting out with this and isn't maybe ready to just listen and receive and be that feminine principle, they're not quite there yet. I think visualizing is a way to get them there, to start to take an active role in your passivity, if you will. That's the best way that I can explain it. So if you are going to, go to your mat or go to your meditation cushion or close the door on your dogs and your kids or whatever it is that might be, to create a safe space, I think I remember seeing an article or something where Drew Barrymore has a meditation closet from COVID. She literally took everything out of her closet and made a tiny little meditation. And I thought that was the best thing I'd ever seen. And who doesn't love her? But even if you have a closet, whatever, if you have to put yourself in a closet, but to find a place that's yours where no one's going to bother you, create that space for yourself, wherever it might be for you in your home, if we're all blessed enough to have a home, and be there in that space and close your eyes and start to practice seeing with your mind. And I think one of the best ways to start that is literally to start to imagine light. So you close your eyes and you imagine a light. And I think that's pretty simple. You can start to visualize a light in a dark room, a lamp on a table, a candle. Candles are huge for this. Candle meditations are massive. It's a big thing. So something to that effect is super simple way to begin. And then you can build on that. You can start to visualize light around you. You can start to visualize light at your heart center, because I know we're big on our heart center kind of guiding us and leading us, and our heart recognition, our heart space, receiving information and understanding things before it ever hits the brain, right? It's heart and body first, brain catches up, always playing catch up. But we listen to our brain more because it's louder, right? So I think that if you can build on these visualizations and start to align yourself with the receptivity, see what shows up for you. Pick something and then see what shows up for you. So have you ever had any experience with a visualization technique like that?
Yes, because I think I've used this example before, like with deer or just watching the animals. The other day I looked at one of the cows was just really looking into the other pasture. And I thought, wonder what? And just in my mind, I thought deer, and I could see deer running. And I looked up and there were two little baby fawns that
I
she
love
was
them.
watching. So yeah, when you visualize it, and then when you see something like that too, or even visualizing what it's going to look like when you go outside in the morning, or on a really beautiful morning when the sun's shining bright and the trees are all in green, and just visualize in your mind, and you get out there and you're going, oh my goodness, this is even more beautiful than what I visualized.
Right?
So yeah, I've experienced that. And even this morning I was checking cattle and I didn't see our big bull there, and I thought, okay, the first thing
Uh-oh.
was, okay, where is he? And then I heard from my heart, just visualize him and see him at the hay feeder. And as I went around the corner, there he was.
There he was.
So yeah, you can just kind of bring into your heart and visualize what you are thinking, and it's just how it comes to you, or it's almost like it's a sign telling you what it is, just like with the deer and where I could find the bull and different things like that. I mean, I'm not going to say it works 100%, and it takes a lot of practice, but I think you said it too in the beginning, establish your own way. And I think that is so true, because each one of us visualize and tune into our intuition in so many different ways, that you and I are just giving some pointers on how we have experienced it, is how I feel. And practicing and establishing your own way, I think, is so important.
It is. And, I think to that end, you were talking about your morning walk, and, walking meditations are a big thing. I'm actually going to be doing one towards the end of a month with the local group that I'm a part of in town. And I'll be leading a portion of it. And, I think that, again, a huge theme for me at life is always meet people where they are. Meet
Yeah,
yourself where you are, meet others where you are. If you try to put your expectations on any other people, it's likely to wind up in disappointment. And so I think that, for people that have a struggle quieting the mind, because, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I'm very blessed that I came to it at a relatively young age. So I certainly don't want to seem like I'm tooting my own horn in any way. It's just that I experienced some trauma, and I found some refuge in yoga and meditation, and that's how I kind of got into all these things. And I don't wish that trauma on anybody ever.
right.
But I think that a lot of times, again, from that dark place comes light. And I hope that, what I'm trying to do is just to give people ways, tangible, real life tools, because, you can say all of the things in the world, but at the end of the day, people are busy. People are
Mhm.
busy. They are running around. They are trying to support their families. They're trying to support themselves. They have 100 million things to do. And to tell them to go sit in a closet for 10 minutes, they might not want to do that. They may have to, bake cookies for a bake sale, or they may need to vacuum the carpet, or the dog just threw up on the floor. I get it. We all get it. Like, everybody has something, but trying to begin this process,
Mhm.
begin this connection with yourself, and connecting with yourself, and then connecting with your higher self, the universe, God, whomever, whatever it might be for you. It kind of has to start with you, because if you don't become still and you don't become receptive, then you will create your own block to
Mhm.
that guidance, to that intuition. And so it's your choice. It's anyone's choice. It's anyone's practice. But I think, like I said, we talked about, using a keyword and listening. And I tried to say, if you hear silence and you have dogs, or you hear silence and you have children, you actively listen. You stop what you're doing. There's something that could be going wrong, and you actively listen. And so I tried to use that, like you said, you actively focus on your breath. So you're coming from that place of action, but kind of focusing the action towards a place of receptivity. That's one way to do it. And then to
Mhm.
visualize would be another method of doing that. And I think that I like the idea of light in dark, because I think, you close your eyes, it's quote unquote dark. But then if you start to imagine a light, You can start to imagine again from your heart. You can start to imagine a light coming from the earth. Let's say that you're trying to tap into a grounded place. You can imagine a light coming from above you, from the sky, coming down through your crown chakra. You can imagine a light coming up through your root chakra. Any a thread, a string, anything that works for you, a ball of light, and just beginning to focus on that and to just begin to, like any practice, like riding a horse, like training a dog, like any practice that you do in life, it has to start with a dog. It's going to start with a treat, but it has to start somewhere, right? The treat for you as the person doing this is giving yourself that space, that quiet time to start this practice. And that is in my mind, the gateway to creating this receptivity so that you can communicate with your intuition.
Yes. Oh, definitely. That is so true, because it's just all about bringing, I like how you said about in the darkness, think of a light, because that is something very, very easy to do, I feel, because you can always, when you shut your eyes, you can think of a bright light, or maybe a beautiful light that you really enjoy seeing, or maybe a beautiful star that shines so bright. So there's always a good way, and that's a good way to tune in to a visualization, because you are visualizing it, because it is dark at the moment, and yet you're seeing that light. So that's a beautiful practice to start with, and it will just grow from there.
And I think the next step, the next layer of that is so we talked about meditation when you're focusing on your breath, or you're focusing on receiving a thought and then releasing a thought without attachment, to start to differentiate between your mind, who you are not your thoughts, right? To make that disconnection between the thoughts that just go in your head, the monkey mind, the brain chatter, if you will, releasing those thoughts, acknowledging them, and realizing that you have that power is similar to this visual way that I'm going to mention. So once you have some traction with the light idea, then you can start to, because I think this is also, I don't want to use, again, I don't want to say easy, but I'll say accessible to people.
Right.
Start to visualize yourself, your body, wherever you are. So if you're laying on the floor, like for me, I'm usually on my mat in my yoga studio. So if I'm laying on the floor on my mat, I visualize myself laying on the floor on my mat. If you are sitting on your meditation pillow in a corner of your apartment, see if you can get a picture, even if you put a mirror there and look at yourself in the mirror and then remember that and close your eyes. Literal, tangible, physical ways to do this, and start to picture yourself. That, to me, and maybe it's just for me, but I hope that it can help other people. For me, that is a way to begin to amp up the visualization. Let's say to create the artist of your mind, to start to practice, did you ever take art lessons where you drew the horse, or you drew, there were steps, right? Of course I'm going to go with horse, but because I know I drew horse, of course. But so this would be my way of kind of training the artist of your mind's eye. That's basically how I view this. And in so doing, it helps to have something to work off of. And so looking at yourself in a mirror, and starting to visualize your body, hopefully is going to start to create the same sort of awareness as visualizing, or as realizing that your mind and your thoughts are not you.
Yeah.
Then seeing that your physical body is not all that you are. It's a part of you. It's your vessel, right? But it's not all of you. You are your aura. You are your soul. You are your energy body. You are much more than your physical body. And so just the way that we start to create that awareness of the higher self with our auditory senses of the internal listening, we can also do that with the internal visualization by starting to take it from light, from a ball of light, a candle, lamp on a table, whatever it might be for you, to, okay, what's the next level up? Start to picture yourself where you are.
Oh, that is a great visualization, and something each one of us can do. I mean, we all have our own body. So it's not like you're visualizing something that you don't have or have not experienced. You're just visualizing your own body. And to look in the mirror and then shut your eyes and visualize that as you go into a quiet time. Oh, what a great example to give for our listeners to practice on tuning in to their intuition is by basically visualizing their own body, because to me that kind of helps you go inside where we need to go to hear our intuition or visualize whatever your clairvoyance is that you can use and utilize to tap into your intuition. I think it's just beautiful.
Well, and it is, all of us have this ability. It's dormant within us, right? All of us have it. It's just a matter of everything is a discipline and a practice. If you don't, it's like a muscle, right? So if you don't exercise that mind art muscle, then you're not gonna, it's just not going to be a part of your everyday. And that's the goal, is to cultivate this relationship with yourself and your higher self every day, so that it goes from, like we talked about, that fight or flight intuition, that something bigger than you is yelling at you to get out of the way or move or whatever. This is a way to start to cultivate that relationship so that it can be more accessible to you in the mundane, on the daily basis, on a regular, like maybe something wonderful will happen to you if you go to a different coffee shop on your way to work. Something, you know what I mean? And if your intuition says, take a left instead of going straight the way you usually do, starting to listen to that and starting to build trust in that, and trust and faith in yourself and in your divine guidance, right? Because a lot of times we'll have a flash, we'll have an idea, and our mind, our heart, maybe it's coming from our heart, like you said, maybe it's all right here, but our mind's going to say, nah, no, I always go this way, I'm going to go this way, this is the way that I'm going to go, because I'm this, and your mind, unfortunately for us, 9 times out of 10, it's going to overrule that heart choice, that intuition, that intuitive choice. And 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be wrong at the same time, or maybe not wrong, but maybe not the best possible outcome.
Right.
It's I make it kind of akin to, if you ever remember multiple choice tests in school, and they were not my favorite thing. I will be very honest with you. But generally speaking, I would go back and I would change an answer, right? And I was right the first time.
Yes.
And I feel like that is a very accessible metaphor for most people about your intuition.
Yes.
That gut, that instinct was probably right the first time. And if you go back with your mind and overthink it and overanalyze it and redo it, you're potentially getting in your own way.
Yes. Yeah. You're potentially getting in your own way of your inner self, trying to tell you what's the best for you. Because our mind so many times, to me, wants to like you said, overanalyze everything, overthink it. And you're like, then you start second guessing yourself. And the multiple questions, that is a great explanation, a great way to show people how that first instinct was the right answer. And
right.
Like you said, on hearing, well, go left instead of right, or take a little different route. It may be showing you some beauty that you have not seen yet on your way on that journey, if you're going to work or going somewhere that you go on a frequently basis. And it's just amazing what it wants you to see for that day. And in just a matter of a second, you'll miss it because your mind was going, no, I always go this way, let's go. So I always say that little voice is the one that holds the most truth to your life.
100%. Absolutely. It totally is. And, I just, again, so I'll touch very briefly, because I know that, as always, I'm sure that we're winding down.
Of course.
It happens to us every single time.
I know.
But, we talked about listening. We're talking about visualizing. And I think that the best way for people to go from your outer world to your inner world is using your senses. Yeah. So the biggest ones, right, are the ones that we already talked about. And I still have my crystal books in front of me, Joyce, and it's just debating us every time. But I think that another really great way to start to do this is with touch, holding a crystal, holding your hands on your heart. All of your senses. There's a really awesome chocolate meditation that I learned in my yoga teacher training, and who doesn't love one of those, right? I don't know if it's going to go into the intuition, but it's an enjoyable meditation, and that's, you can't go wrong with chocolate. So there are, we talked about scent. There are so many different ways to do it, but I think that for people, again, that are just starting, using your senses, using what you're accustomed to in a new way is the best way to start to cultivate and open the door to this practice, to listening to your inner self, to quieting the mind, and creating that communion, that connection with your divine guidance.
Yes. Oh, I so agree with you, Gia. Oh, that is just so beautiful. And as always, as we do come to a close, you ended it in such a beautiful way. And before we do close, though, I would like to ask you, will you please return to Robust Lifestyle Show and share more of your knowledge with all of our listeners?
Of course, there's so much more, and maybe one time we'll have to do a chocolate meditation at the end, just so that all the listeners can enjoy it.
Oh my word, that sounds wonderful. I love it. I will put in, I'll have dark chocolate though.
Always. Me too. It's got all the antioxidants. It's good for you. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
That's exactly right. And would you please share with our listeners the best ways to connect with you?
Yes, thank you so much. So again, Gia-Raquel Rose, owner of Airs Above Yoga. I am online at airsAboveYoga.com. I am on social media at Airs Above Yoga. That's AIRSABOVEYOGA, and Airs Above Yoga at Gmail as well. So multiple ways to reach out to me if I can walk you through your own chocolate meditation or help you with your intuitive guidance and connecting with your body, your mind, and hopefully maybe even your soul.
Oh, awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Gia. And I want to wish you a magical day, to you and all of your animal families. And may magic fill your days till you and I connect again.
Thank you, Joyce. Likewise to you, your loved ones, fur and human alike.
Oh, thank you so much. And with that, I would like to thank all of our listeners for listening to this magical show with our incredible diva, Gia-Raquel. Please share this show with all your family and friends. Check out all the other hosts and their shows on divasthatcare.com. And remember some of the golden nuggets that Gia left with us. To visualize the energy around you, or visualize just shutting your eyes and seeing that beautiful bright light that comes to you. And all of us have the capability inside of us. It's just tapping into it so you can establish your own way. And with that, I want to wish each of you a very magical day. Remember, be kind to all, including your animals, and give your animals a great big extra hug and share all your love with them as they so deserve it. Until we connect again on Robust Lifestyles, stay strong and healthy.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.